This video is sponsored by me, AXG Sleep Diagnostics LLC. Take a look at our comprehensive Type 2 diagnostic home sleep study. We have some videos here showing exactly why we are better than other home sleep testing services. In general, this is why we have the exact same channels recorded as an in-lab study. Look, including EEG, which tells us whether or not you're awake or asleep. So whether this is your first sleep study or you're just seeking retesting, please consider axgsleepdiagnostics.com.
But I'm telling you, just from a health standpoint, the worst thing you can do is deny it's there. Hey there, I'm the Lanky Lefty 27, and I'm going to redo a video that I did in the past for several reasons. This has to do with whether sleep apnea is real or whether it is fake. And I got a lot of comments last time. The reason I wanted to redo it is because I named it Sleep Apnea is Fake, and the purpose of that is essentially I was trolling people. I was trying to get people who really do think that sleep apnea is fake. I was trying to draw them in, and then I was trying to go a different way and tell them that in fact it is real. So, spoiler alert, if you think that sleep apnea is fake, just do me this. Do me a kindness.
Tony, do me a favor, will you please? Will you do me a kindness?
And just stick around and listen to what I have to say, okay? I'm gonna take two different approaches on this. One reason I wanna redo this is because, look, you need to redo this minus the car, the noise is so off-putting. I don't know about others, but I had to give up listening halfway through. Here's three more, brought to you by the idiots who claim moon landings are fake. Enjoy. The Legos are so off-putting, they're annoying, you're so quiet than the road noise, blah, blah, blah. You can't start by trolling the topic of sleep apnea and just say, just kidding, and be expected to be taken seriously. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna approach this topic on a much more serious note. We also have another comment, I'm gonna save that for later. Now, one way I wanna approach this, the first thing I said is the act of stopping breathing in your sleep, is that real or is that fake, okay? When people say, is sleep apnea fake? Sometimes they mean two different things. We'll get to the second thing in a second. The first thing is sleep apnea actually real or fake? A lot of people think like, hey, just because they didn't have this back in the 1800s or 1900s, that it must be fake. Well, that's not true. We know that there's things that come about that are new all the time. Just because we didn't know about it doesn't mean that it's not there. I mean, we're even finding new species of animals all the time. Just because we don't know about them doesn't mean it's not there. So now what I would say to sleep apnea is that it's being pushed to the forefront. There's a lot of people that are undiagnosed and that are now being diagnosed, and all of a sudden people say, well, how come there's so many more people being diagnosed now about it now? Well, it's because physicians are being educated now. So there's primary care physicians now that don't even fully grasp sleep apnea. They know it's real, but they have absolutely no idea how to treat it. It's not something that they refer to a lot of sleep studies for, because they just simply don't know about it. It's not really in their wheelhouse yet. So that's part of the reason why there's more people being diagnosed with it. Okay, I wanna do something. I wanna show you an actual sleep study. Now this is from my company. I have a company, it's a home sleep testing company, home sleep study company. We mail these out. I have permission to use a few of them. This just happens to be when I have permission to use. This is from a friend when I was testing out my service, which by the way is axgsleepdiagnostics.com. If you're looking for a sleep study, try them out. So let's do just a little bit of education on this stuff. Hopefully you can see my cursor. Top line is body position. We have the left eye. This is the electrode we have here. Right eye electrode that we have down here. We have the EMG. These are the chin electrodes down here. For these studies, we have F3, F4, and O1. O1 is in the back. That's kind of used for sleep onset. Then the F channels are up in this area here. We have the snoring. You can see the big pink. That's the snore mic. P flow is the nasal cannula in, and often there is a little thing that loops around that is the nasal cannula, the oral sensor. So it gets any air coming in here. Then you have the prongs up here. Oftentimes you'll have a thermistor, which is just a heat exchange. You can get airflow off of that. This does not have that. THO is thoracic. That's the belt that goes across here. ABD is abdominal. Some effort, ignore that. That's the two. We use that for something else. Don't worry about it. EKG, that's a crap signal right there. It does clean up later in the study, but that's your heart. And then we have legs. And SpO2 is at the very bottom. Kind of tough to see. Okay, so this is my friend when he was doing it. He has been diagnosed with sleep apnea since this. In fact, he was alerted to it because of this study, unfortunately for him. But we can see he's sleeping. Now his breathing isn't exactly perfect. You can see it kind of waxing and waning just a little bit, but it's not a big deal. He's not waking up. He is having oxygen desaturations of 2 to 3% down here though, which is quite interesting. But as he's cruising along, you can see it's steady snoring, okay? Just because you snore doesn't mean you have sleep apnea, but snoring is absolutely a sign of sleep apnea. All right, I'm going to skip ahead because I know he just bombs out. Now, you see up here at the very top of this, I think it's still in frame. This is delta sleep that he's about to go into. Slow wave sleep. And then this red line here is REM. This is the scoring, the staging I've already done on it. When he gets into REM, he falls apart. There you go, a bunch of obstructive apneas. So since this video is on, is sleep apnea real or fake, we'll just stick with this for now. But you can see the breathing, the airflow has completely ceased. When he gets to the end of it and he starts breathing again, you can see even the snoring stops. So he's and then right here you can see the EEG. He is waking up in this period here. Wakes up, he falls back asleep and immediately stops breathing again. And he does this, you can see over and over and over again while he's in REM sleep. Obviously this is very disruptive. So if we're just talking about is sleep apnea real or fake, it's real. You can talk to thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that know sleep apnea is real. They wake themselves up choking all the time. Let's just, while we're in here, let's just continue to look at this just a little bit. Look at this oxygen desaturation right here. It goes from 96% all the way down to 81%. Can you imagine doing this all night long, back to back to back? I mean, holy smokes, man. I don't even understand how people can function with this, quite honestly. This is, look at this, just back to back to back to back. Look at how many times he wakes up in this 2-minute period. 1, 2 times, 3 times in a 3-minute period. Constantly. And this is supposed to be a restorative stage of sleep. Okay, now we have a little bit of a lesser degree of sleep apnea, and that is a hypopnea. So you can see it does the exact same thing as an obstructive apnea, but my friend here, he is still working a little bit of air through. Instead of, it's a little choked off, he's getting less air through. He's still having an oxygen desaturation of, it looks like 4 or 5%. But then right here, you see an awakening. So a lot of times people will still call these obstructive apneas, even though technically it's a hypopnea, but whatever. It does the same thing. Causes the heart to increase, your blood flow, your blood oxygenation is going down. And so to make up for that, to get more oxygen to different parts of your body, it has to crank up the volume it's pushing through. And so the heart's cranking like crazy, trying to get what little oxygenation is in there around. It doesn't know that it's being choked off, but while the heart's supposed to be resting, it is just cranking away. Okay, so this is just the physical part. Is sleep apnea real? So that's just the physical part of it. Is sleep apnea real? However, I don't think that that's what people are talking about all the time when they say, is sleep apnea real or is it fake? What I think they're really talking about is there fraud within the sleep community, sleep diagnostics, sleep studies? And to that, I would say, yes, there absolutely is. I think I would be lying if I said that there wasn't some fraud within the sleep apnea community. I know some physicians that I've worked with. I've been in the field for 17 years, and most of the doctors, I would say a really, really high percentage of them are really great people. They're very well-meaning. If you saw the time that they took to go through these charts, just point by point, they're on it. They want to get the diagnosis right. They really do put their heart and soul into it. And then there's the others that give the entire field a really, really bad name. Okay, so now I kind of want to, now let's shift gears, okay? We're not talking about sleep apnea itself, whether it's real or fake. We're gonna talk more about fraud within the sleep medicine community. And again, this has 2 different approaches to it. The first is that I'd like to address is just that in any industry, you're going to see some fraud, you're going to see some corruption, and unfortunately it gives the entire industry a bad name. So let's just take example, you have a car mechanic. So if you have 100 car mechanics, 99 of them are probably going to be very honest, only do work that needs to be done, charge you, we can argue fair prices or not, but you're gonna have that one that tries to get you to have the brake pad change when there's still like 70% left on it. They get you to do stuff that doesn't need to be done, and they basically cheat you. Well, you have the same thing in the sleep medicine community, but there's different levels of it, and I can't address all of them, but there's evidence that it's there. So something that looks really bad is when you have a sleep specialist that is a part owner of a sleep lab. And especially if that sleep physician or sleep specialist is also the owner or part owner of a DME, which is a durable medical equipment company, someone who sells CPAP machines or CPAP masks. It just looks bad. It just has that appearance that they're maybe diagnosing you with something that you don't have so that they can potentially get something out of it. Are they always doing it? You never know, but it's certainly there. And sometimes you see people that are diagnosed and it kind of makes you wonder, did they really need that or not? Now, I've been working in this field for 17 years and I've seen very little of that, but I have seen enough of it to know that it's absolutely there. So here's what I would suggest if you feel that you've been diagnosed with sleep apnea and you don't think that you've had it. Get a second opinion. Go to a different physician. Maybe have a different sleep study. You know what? This is going to look like a shameless plug, but some of the people that use my service, which I will tell you again is axgsleepdiagnostics.com. Some of the people that have used my service, they do so because they don't believe the original diagnosis. They feel that it was fake. They feel that there maybe was some other influences in the doctor and their diagnosis, and they just wanted to have it looked at again. All right, shameless plug over. But definitely, seriously, get a second opinion. If you don't believe it, get a second opinion. But I'm telling you, just from a health standpoint, the worst thing you can do is deny it's there. There's some other cheap ways that you can do this, and I'm gonna actually put a video out on it, on how to do this. But there's a really easy way you can see if you have sleep apnea, and that's just simply recording yourself with your cell phone. Very easy. And I'll get into that later, but you can just record audio. You can hear it. Sleep apnea has a very distinct sound to it for most people. And so you can just do something that simple. You can wear an oximeter probe to see if your blood oxygen level desaturates throughout the night. Here's another way that we can go with this, if the sleep apnea is real or fake. When I think people are talking about when government or regulation gets involved in it. And so here's another comment from the original video from Weird Science. In South Australia, the government takes your driver's license away if you snore and you won't use their sleep CPAP mask. They force controlled tests on you. Even if you're mild, they always assess you with severe sleep apnea to cover their asses. Unfair. You're treated like a criminal and monitored constantly. You have to pay thousands of dollars of extra fees just to keep your license, in addition to the machine and its parts. That's a fair point. Okay, so then there's one last bend to this question of is sleep apnea fake that gets lumped in with it, and that is government regulation of sleep apnea or the treatment of sleep apnea. And that goes for commercial drivers, airline pilots, as well as private citizens. You'll have them take their license will be taken away if they are found to have sleep apnea, or if they even meet the criteria of having a red flag thrown up. And I mentioned that before, BMI above a certain amount or neck size above a certain amount. And they'll be red flagged until they get tested, and then if needed, treated for sleep apnea, and they have to be compliant and show compliance. So I'm gonna throw the question back to you. Please fill up the comment section with your thoughts on this. But if you really think about it and try to be fair about it, really try to think about it. Try to juggle both sides. Is there a responsibility? Well, first, let's back up. One, is driving a right or is driving a privilege? And that goes for private citizens, that goes for commercial drivers and airline pilots. The second thing to consider is public safety something that needs to be taken into consideration? I mean, we all know that a single family, a small car can do some considerable damage. What about a semi-truck? What about an airline? What about an airplane? Whether it be a single engine or a jumbo jet. So the question is, and I'm not going to answer it. I can't answer it. I'm not smart enough to answer it, okay? Is there a way to make everyone happy with this? Is sleep apnea something that needs to be legislated? I'll throw that thing back to you. Anyway, I'm going to cut off the video here. So just so we're clear, sleep apnea is totally real. People do stop breathing in their sleep. Happens all the time. I've seen it happen in 8 people, in 8 beds in one night. Happens all the time.